Hello, welcome everybody to this webinar from Paris to the end of the world. We're going to look at some zinc projects in some extraordinary locations. And this first image is obviously of a fjord in Norway, near Loen, where the Alexandra Hotel has this spectacular viewing platform, which combines zinc and other materials such as timber and glazing. Moving forward a little bit, but before we go in depth into some projects, just wanted to let you know sort of really what we do. We actually refine the zinc. So on the top right, you can see hot liquid zinc coming out of the oven. That gets rolled into natural zinc coils, which you can see on the top left, before being pre-weathered. The bottom left photo is an interesting project from Holland where old and new's been combined. You can see pre-weathered pigmento red standing seam zinc roofing connected with a very attractive glazing unit to an old thatched cottage. And on the right, again, the same zinc, but this time in pre-patinated quartz on a facade near New York in the US, where the whole facade is made out of zinc. The cornices, the soffits, the framing, the whole facade is all zinc. We always have to have a little bit of a thought for this man, Baron Haussmann, who was asked by Napoleon III to redevelop Paris, to take it from a medieval city into a modern city in the middle of the 19th century. This happened just a few years after VMZINC was founded in 1837, and Haussmann did his development in Paris in the middle of the 19th century, about 1850 to 1860. And many of the grand boulevards, which you can still see today, have zinc roofs. About 99% of all these roofs have some zinc on them. And you can see the top left-hand corner is the Étoile, the Eiffel Tower, sorry, the Arc de Triomphe. The top right is the Gare du Nord, the bottom right is the Gare de Lyon, and the left, which could well be a station in Paris, is actually Brighton railway station, which is a very historic railway station, which was redeveloped using very similar techniques. And this was an extension or a renovated part of the building that was done in the end of the 20th century, about sort of 2000, using batten cap roofing. Staying in Brighton and the railway theme, this is Volks electric railway, which is actually, as you can see, on the beach. Zinc performs extremely well in marine environments. It performs very well against salt. And here, Azingar, which is actually engraved zinc, has been used again to clad the roofs and the walls using standing seam. Staying close to the sea, but a bit further north on the beautiful Isle of Skye, is an artist studio called Midden Studio. Here, again, standing seam zinc is used on the roofs, on the walls to clad this building. The difference here is it's natural zinc, and you can see on the top right some of the almost texture of the patina forming, which is not uniform. It takes a few years to form to become a middle grey. The other interesting part of this project is that the panels have stamps on them. It almost sort of looks like a noughts and crosses pattern. Zinc's relatively soft, not like lead, but it can be worked and stamped and formed. So you can create these interesting patterns and do these, create this image. And although it's not Frank Lloyd Wright's Falling Water, there is a feel of this waterfall which is visible from the studio. You can see on the right where you can actually look through into the river beneath, and on the left you can see the opening where that window has been created. Staying in an area of the world which can get very, very windy indeed. This is a church, St. Martha's Church in Harvey, just south of New Orleans in Louisiana. And it was designed and built by Escu Dumez Ripple in 2003, just over a year before the Katrina hurricane disaster struck. And you can see on the right, the quartz pre-weathered zinc standing seam cladding and blown out windows and peeled off roofs. after the hurricane, the building was inspected and the zinc was almost entirely intact. So it really has been hurricane tested. Moving slightly to a different environment, this is Kiruna in Sweden, north of the Arctic Circle. So at this time of the year, probably very, very long nights indeed. And here you see pre-patinated flat lock panels. You can see the panels on the right. They interlock quite simply, and you can create curve forms and straight forms. And there's all the detailing around these interesting round windows that's been created in this very, very extreme cold environment. Keeping the snowy theme, but moving further south. This is a refuge in Andorra, high in the Pyrenees, where the architects have created this super insulated box, which is then clad with standing seam roofing and cladding. And on the south facing face, there are PV panels and obviously the window openings. And you can see altitude 2,488 meters. So in the winter, very, very cold and snowy, but in the summer, it does actually get very hot. So a big change in temperature, going from hot sun to very cold snow, wind, and so on. So fairly extreme. This time going even higher though, 3,700 meters in the Himalayas, Lhasa in Tibet, where a hotel was built on a little bit on the theme of a monastery, using a vernacular architecture, but combining it with batten cap roofing, which is not entirely dissimilar to the batten cap roofing that you would find in Paris. Now we're staying in Asia, but probably going to one of the coldest places in the world. This is Yakutsk in Russia, which has a population of about 300,000 people. The coldest permanently inhabited city in the world, built on permafrost. You've got most of the year it is well below freezing. And in 2003, we were contacted to get involved in the project for the local circus, of all things. And again, standing seam pre-patinated quartz zinc panels were used to roof this building. One of the differences here was that a double ventilated roof was built. This means that you don't get a buildup of any humidity which can turn to ice, condensation, which would then create potential problems, not so much for the zinc, but more the roof structure. And this has been in place for 17 years. Now, zinc, like all metal, is cold brittle. So if you did try to install it at -50, it would crack. But once it's been installed, it's very resistant to these extreme temperatures. Going from cold to hot, this is Phoenix in Arizona, in the south of the US. Probably one of the hottest cities. It can get close to 50 degrees in the summer. And this police station has a rain screen, again in pre-patinated quartz zinc, using perforated panels which reduce the solar gain on this building and also give an interesting texture and can be backlit, as you can see. Staying in a warm environment, but this time in Singapore. This is Theatres on the Bay, designed by DP Architects almost 20 years ago now. Right on the sea, always hot and humid. The atmosphere was probably not really one of the main problems for the zinc here. It was more the detailing, very low slope roofs, complicated junctions, a bullnose. But again, the malleability and workability of zinc allow these types of shapes and roofs to be clad very effectively in zinc. Staying by the sea, but just giving you a few examples of different areas where zinc's being used. On the left is Bondi Beach in Australia. In the middle, St Andrews on the north coast of the UK. And on the right, Terry Farrell's Kennedy swimming pool complex in Hong Kong. All of these right on the sea, and they tend to get quite windy. Certainly Hong Kong and St Andrews, there are extreme winds, but the zinc resists all these environments extremely well. Talking about resisting wind. It's obviously important to get the design right and the installation, and by using the right number of clips and spacing these clips at the right centers and using the right width panels, pretty much any environment, as we've seen, can be clad with zinc panels. And on the right, you actually see a test which has been done at Windtech to do some actual testing of the zinc panels. Just going to finish on an interesting project, which is the lighthouse at the end of the world, which Jules Verne based one of his books on. This was actually a real lighthouse that sort of became a little bit derelict and almost fell down. And a French explorer wanted to recreate the lighthouse, which is very close to Cape Horn. And he got a group of companies together, including VMZINC. And this was rebuilt in the late 90s with a zinc roof and a zinc ornament, and has been there ever since. And obviously in the region of Cape Horn, not only is it by the sea, but you get incredibly strong winds almost all the time. There was a slightly smaller model of this also built in La Baie of La Rochelle in Western France, slightly more accessible. But again, this shows how well zinc deals with a marine environment. It's actually almost in the sea. Right, well, that was a short review of some extraordinary projects in some extraordinary places. But if you would like more information, samples, literature, technical details to discuss your own projects, we'd be very happy to do so. So just give us a call, drop us an email, go on our website. Thanks.